This is One-on-One. Dr. Tara Alvarez is professor of biomedical engineering at NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. She's also the director of biomedical engineering undergraduate program at NJIT. Good to see you, doctor.
Thank you for having me.
You know, we're here to talk about so many things, but is it fair to say that you're studying what's called convergence insufficiency? It has something to do with eye movements?
Yes.
Explain this to me.
So basically what convergence insufficiency is, it's a problem teaming the eyes, or it's a binocular coordination problem. And most of us take our eye movements for granted because they work so well. However, for about 4 to 8% of the general population, and it's actually much more prevalent for those with brain injury, they have a problem coordinating their eyes, and this impacts their activities of daily living, such as reading, doing computer work, and then they just can't sustain vision at near.
So give us a concrete, relevant example where people are going to say, oh, so that's what you're talking about, because a lot of people watching right now are either experiencing this or they know someone who is.
So for the general population, many times it manifests in 2nd or 3rd grade, especially when the reading demand increases, because children have a hard time reading. And unfortunately, this is their only visual experience. So they don't know there's something wrong.
Reading is the first, you say, hold on.
Okay.
You're saying it's their only visual experience.
So for example, if you're starting to do reading for a long period of time, say 15 to 20 minutes, you can experience blurred or double vision, eye stress or strain, which is pulling around the eyes, or headaches.
Migraine sometimes.
Potentially.
Okay.
And then children tend to act up because this is uncomfortable for them. And many times it impedes their ability to learn. It doesn't mean that they have a learning disability, but they have difficulty getting the visual information into the brain.
But then how would someone know that the reason they're struggling is the reason you just described?
Well, you can go to an optometrist or an eye care professional, and they can measure what's called your near point of convergence, which is when you bring a target along midline, when do you perceive it as double? They can measure your fusional range, and they can also quantify your symptoms.
Okay, so breaking this down.
Okay.
This young person, this child, this 2nd grader, 3rd grader, 5th grader is struggling with this. But it isn't just reading. They're looking at something on Blackboard. They're looking at a computer.
Right.
They're looking at a lot of different things, and their eyes are not converging in the way their eyes need to in order to receive that information accurately, process it, right? They're getting frustrated.
Right.
They don't understand what's going on. There's a learning issue. They're not performing as well in school.
Right.
You're studying what?
So I'm very fortunate.
Along with your team at NJIT.
Yes, and I'm also working with people at Dr. Mitchell Scheinman at Salus University and Dr. Clifton Shore from Berkeley. So my colleague, Dr. Scheinman from Salus, did a beautiful study showing that the efficacy of vision therapy works very well, in that it improves your comfort level at near, and the symptoms are reduced at least a year after the therapy is finished. However, what's not known is really what's happening in the brain. And I'm working with Dr. Bharat Biswal, who's also with NJIT, to really understand the underlying neural mechanisms. And we're funded by the National Institute of Health to understand, record
That's
based
the federal
on,
government.
Yes, yes. So it's our tax dollars at work.
Yes.
So to understand what changes in the eye movements, as well as what changes in the brain, where we'll be doing functional MRI recordings, to see how exactly does the therapy have an impact onto the body.
Now, you're a Ph.D.
Yes.
The medical community needs to know about this because they take this information and hopefully, I mean, people watching right now are saying, first, this is fascinating,
Okay.
but more importantly, they're asking, okay, I'm hoping the clinical community is going to take this, the educational community, schools, that they're going to do something with this, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, why do the research?
Right.
Go ahead.
So one of the things also that the NEI, the National Institute of Health, is looking to do is community awareness. So many times this is not screened in the classrooms, and it can be easily addressed through therapy.
What kind of therapy?
So these eye movement exercises.
That's vision therapy that you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
So just bringing awareness to it will also increase the care for people that need it, that don't necessarily know that this is what they have.
Okay, but the other thing that I'm sure people are also wondering about, and I keep thinking about this, the ADD is, a lot of people talk about ADD, right? And I don't know how effectively it's being diagnosed or not, but children having a hard time concentrating in school, oh, that kid's ADD. People think they can diagnose it. But say it is diagnosed effectively by a trained professional.
Right.
Is there a direct correlation? Has there been a correlation found between a child diagnosed properly with ADD and what it is you're describing?
Yes. So there's actually two different studies, one done by a group of optometrists where they've taken their patients that have been diagnosed with convergence insufficiency and see what the prevalence of ADD and ADHD is within their patient population, and another study done by psychologists who have a group of patients that have ADD, ADHD, and see what the prevalence of convergence insufficiency is. And it's roughly a 3-to-1 ratio. So
3-to-1 meaning?
Children with CI are 3 times more likely to have ADD.
Children with convergence insufficiency are 3 times more likely to have ADD or ADHD.
Right, and vice versa. Right. So it makes sense because many of the symptoms that children experience are very similar to those described in ADD. And from what we understand from the brain networks, the vision network and the attention network share a lot of the same neural substrates. So it makes sense. Now, what's very interesting is it's difficult. What Dr. Scheinman is being funded also by the NIH to study, which is an independent study of my own.
Real quick, go ahead.
Is to study how academic performance improves after vision therapy.
It could actually perform. Well, we don't know that, but he's studying that.
That's exactly what
And real
he's
quick
funded
on
to
brain
study.
injury, the connection?
So with brain injury, it makes sense that because so much of the neural substrates are dedicated to vision.
Substrates are?
Neural areas.
Got it.
So just parts of the brain.
Okay.
Are dedicated to vision. If you're in a car accident or you're coming back from war, it makes sense if you've had injury to the brain, then it can manifest as a vision problem.
Doctor, you and your colleagues at NJIT are doing such important work, and we thank you for coming on, talking about it, and more importantly, when you finish your research, please come back and share.
Will do.
Dr. Tara Alvarez from NJIT, thank you so much.
Thank
Stay
you.
right there. One-on-one will continue right after this. Thank you, Doctor.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Activists in cooperation with the American Medicine Chest Challenge, MagnaCare, New Jersey Sharing Network, the law firm of Gibbons PC, Community Education Centers, PSE&G, Sun National Bank. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and NorthJersey.com, and by New Jersey Monthly, the magazine of the Garden State, available at newsstands. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.